I know there's only 2 of you right now, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll have more people show up very soon. Let's try that. Let's see how my mic is doing. Change built Elgato and now will now be used. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me. The whole point of me, I was trying to say earlier, I'm setting things up. We're going to be recording this. I'm assuming people will show up. We're going to go over, unless you guys have a burning question outside of what the next assignment is, and I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions that you have. I just know that people don't tend to ask me a lot of questions, and I end up talking to myself. And so uh, my plan here in this is my demo practice version of it is the plan of attack right now is to go over and redo or do a new form, a child class of media, not the child class of media that you might have. How do I want to say this? Not the child class of media. So this is assignment 4, where you have a media library with a whole bunch of media files. Let's have a look at what those media files would look like. This is actually what you'd get if I export the metadata for a music library or a movie library, like from a Plex media server, or if I export the media file for my comic collection or whatever the case is. Apple used to do this when I used to export my music library. You just get all the details for every single song, for everyone, what the album was on, essentially all the data associated with the media files that you have. All we're doing, we're not going to play media files or anything like that. That's way too complicated. All we're going to do is we're going to have a media library, which has a bunch of media files in it. You're going to read in the file. I think that's most of it's even given to you and done for you. You will read in a file and make different types of media, different media objects. They will store all of this data. Essentially, it's a way to store this data. But we're looking at inheritance and polymorphism. So when I make a child class of the media class, it will be exactly like a media object, like a child object of the media class. It's going to look exactly like a media object. It's just going to have extra stuff in it. So that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to demonstrate. You will make you'll have extra objects, and so make sure I'm recording. We will make these extra kinds of objects. So let's have a look at this. I have a movie, media type is movie, the media type is music. So I can have like maybe I have 4,000 songs on this thing, and then other 4,000 television shows, and then 200 movies. I'm going to make a new thing called a link because it's not part of the assignment. I can do it safely without giving away and necessarily giving away answers. I'm going to make a brand new child class of the media class called a link, media link. It's not actually, so the file is not actually stored on this computer. I'm going to pretend it's stored somewhere else, but I still have information about that file. But in the case of like a TV show, it's the name of here's the name of the TV show file for like a Plex media server. Here's the file size. Here is where it's actually located on the drive. Not actually located there at all, but I'm pretending it is. Right? It's at this location. That's where this is the movie file I'm using. What's the genre of this particular TV show? It's a horror TV show. Not really, but what season, what episode it's on. I can have different information for comic books versus movies versus versus TV shows versus books, whatever the case is. They're all media of some format. They're just different types of media. So I have a parent class called the media class that is located here, media.h, media.cpp. And I will make a child class of it, read in the file, and then I can actually export the file. So what ends up happening? This is what we're going to see, hopefully, by the end of this, little lecture period. What's going to work for me this time? I ran it today. Okay, here we go. Here's my media collection. It's whoa, something's wrong here. It's actually not wrong at all. It's actually doing the right thing. I have a generic media file. I have Fellowship of the Ring, which is a movie. It shouldn't be a generic media file. It has a pretty good file size. That's fine. It has a pretty good file path. I'm missing a lot of the other stuff. This is what a generic media file exports or outputs as information. It doesn't have all the information that a movie should have. A movie should have the IMDb page, a director, maybe the cast, something like that. In this case, because I have not implemented a movie class, it's treating it as some generic just media object. Doesn't have the full all the data. But what I've done here, and surprisingly, there's something wrong here. Something wonky is going wrong right there. I'll have to look into that. The description, if I have a media link, media file link or media link class, it'll have a link, a name, the type of media it's a link, the name of the actual thing. I'll have a file size. How big is the file? It's 0. It's somewhere else. It's not on my local computer. I will have a file path. It's not applicable, not on this computer. And then I'll have maybe a description, and then maybe I'll have something else. In fact, I know what actually happened there. Well, I'll fix it properly, and yeah, let me fix this properly first, and hopefully you won't notice what the problem is. I'm going to give away an answer. I literally gave away the answer because I forgot to fix to remove my answer last term. So I don't feel that bad about giving away the answer. Here we go. There we go. That's it. That one little change is going to change exactly what happens gets spit out here. Here we go. I have a URL, I have a description, I have a file path, I have the name of this link is The Art of Jackson Pollock, as a file size, everything I need for a media link. So it's not stored on my local computer. It's a web page essentially. But maybe I want that. Maybe it's like a bunch of bookmarks that I have. Okay. The idea here is you just need to make a child class of a particular kind, but two child classes of the media class. And then you need to make next week, you'll make a grandchild class on the media class. So a child of your child class. And the number one rule that you're going to be is like hopefully thinking about is this. Should also How is my sound doing, by the way? Is my sound better or worse? I'm hoping
It's
you
good.
can hear me. Sounds good. Okay.
Is metadata like a series of links, descriptions of stuff? Could you explain that maybe?
Great.
Yeah.
Great question. So metadata, meaning, so what is meta-analysis, metacognition, it's overview or the description of the term. I can probably find the actual definition, what meta means, but meta-analysis. Metadata normally is data about your data. It's not in the data, so it's like the description of the information or description of that particular file. So if I have a bunch of movies on my computer, I might want the metadata, the things like what the cover image for the movie is, what the name of the movie is, who the director was, things about the movie. It's not the movie itself. It's not screenshot. No, it could be screenshots of the movie. It's stuff surrounding, helping describe the movie or the TV show, right? Metadata normally is the things, the extra information that you would associate with a particular piece of media or data. Does that make sense? So in this case, right, the name of the movie, the size of the file, the path where the file is located, it's stuff that helps describe what the file is. This is the actual movie here. It's actually not a TV show at all. I put it under TV. I don't know why I did that, but I don't know anything about Percy Jackson and the Lightning King. I just wanted something with the name Jackson in it, uh, because I'm going to do a search for Jackson next time around. Michael Jackson, Peter Jackson, Percy Jackson, Jackson Pollock, right? But the file itself is this MOV file. That's the actual movie if you wanted to watch the movie. The rest of this stuff, like the name of the movie, the file size of the movie, the where the movie is located in space, a description of the movie, the IMDb web page of the movie, it's just general description helping you understand what the movie is. We only care about that part. We're not actually doing a movie view or anything like that. This is effectively the entirety of what your program needs to do. It reads in a file and then spits out that information about said file. So ideally, what you could have is your program reads in this text file and then outputs that same text back to another file just to show that it actually works correctly. You will actually, if you go to, I'm not sure if iTunes is still doing that. It used to for a long while. You could export your metadata. You go to your library, export metadata, and you get all the information about every song in your music collection. You would assume that Netflix would be able to do that. You could export all the information about the movies and TV shows that you watched on Netflix in the past month or 2 months. That's what we're looking for, or what we're looking at. That makes sense? It's
Yep.
not meant. Sorry?
Yeah, it does.
Good. So that's all we're doing. We're taking in information describing our media library, because literally that's what my Plex will do. If you look up Plex media server, you'll see what I actually was running downstairs in the basement, so I can put all my local media on a big ass hard drive and play it. And you need the description of where things are and what the names of these things are, the names of the files are, maybe the little thumbnail of what the episode is, right? That sort of thing. So I'm going to start this all from scratch. I just wanted that setup. That was just the setup. Here we go. I'm going to make a brand new project just because I want to show you this all the way through. Make a brand new project. I'm going to put in the in-class sync folder. This is where you always can share. You can see the code that's directly available to you all the time. Okay. I'm not going to call it project one. What did I call the old one? I'm going to call it very similar. Okay. Sync 5 media demo, not the practice one, and W21. Okay. Great. I'm going to have to go back to that media library.txt file because I'm going to remake it again. Okay. Here's where we're going to go. Here is hopefully. Move stuff over here. Okay, that's the new file that's the practice directory I was working in before. The only reason I need this is because I need this one particular file. Here we go. Notice I even experimented and have it output the text file as well, just because I could. Okay, so here's the media file library that I was playing with. I modified it then. Okay. Media demo W21. All right, I'm gonna just drop that in here. I need all my files in the same directory, whether it's in a subdirectory or not, but they all need to be in the same place. Wherever my C files are, that's where I want my text file. I also should have dear data, assignments, A3 shape. Let me see here. I may have to go through this way. Downloads. All right. This is me. I grabbed literally this morning. All I did was grab that zip file that I have online for A4, downloaded the file. This is what it was when I unzipped it. I fully unzipped it. Okay, I'm just going to take all of this stuff. Ideally, I want to just take all of this stuff. I'm going to remove media library, the text file, because I modified the text file to test this new approach that I'm doing. But all the other files are exactly what I gave you. Nothing new. Here we go. Right. Directory, great. And right. Even, hell, I even include the PDF. I don't need to do that, but okay. I'm going to add existing items. And I'm just going to include all this stuff. So let me see here. Media directory. Let's just include everything. Let me see here. Remove this. Okay. Those are all the CPP and H files that I had, plus that text file that I also used. And they'll all go like in here, but I don't want it all in here. I want to put my header files up in the header file section. I'm just dragging them up. This is just one way you could do it. There's a bunch of different ways you could set this up, but I find that's the easiest. And my text file is in a resource file. That's where all my resources go. So that way, it's organized. Okay. Let's file it. This was given to you. All right. Let's roll this thing. Hopefully it won't blow up in our face. See out has a little locking thing that it does. All right. Notice what happens here. Every single file, every kind of media file that I have, I'm making a generic media object and it's spitting out the answer. It's doing nothing special. All I have is this media object. I have no child classes at all. So everything is treated as a media object. And so it outputs it looking like this. What I'm going to do, and what I would normally have like a pad of paper, plan out my strategy here. If I wanted to make a movie media class, I figure out how to do that. Or if I want to make what new attributes I want, I write it down. I doodle stuff out on paper. Here is the media.h file. This kind of stuff you can almost ignore. This is like, hey, if I at the end of the when I run this program, it says media file, TV. Here's another example. Movie, music, TV. I just need some string to be able to look at. So here it is, music, TV, movie, collaborative music, generic. When I do my link, I'm going to put that string somewhere else potentially. So I have a bunch of, if I need a string that I need to match and I know it's going to have a particular name, I can put constant strings in here just to, so I don't have to write, I'm not hard coding media type everywhere. I just refer to this. And everywhere I refer to this, it always means media type, this string media type. Just shortcut so I don't have hard coding in values. And I can also do, here are a bunch of different media type things. I can have a generic media type, a movie, comic, TV, music, collaborative music. That was my extension, my grandchild class, a book, or external, as in a link. I could call it link as well. And then I have all these different kinds of genres. I can do all sorts of cool things like this. Just, it's up to you how you want to implement this, a lot of this. Here's the big part though. I have a class called media, and here's my constructor. Here's a virtual function called toString. So if I make a child class, I could change how toString works. How about get file size? Well, wait, get file size. The file size is not going to change, whether it's a movie, a TV show, or whatever the case is. I'm just storing a number, right? It's the size of the file. So no matter what kind of file I have, what kind of media object I have, it always uses the same file size. There's no need to reinvent that wheel. All media files have a file size, even if it's 0. So I'm not going to extend it. I'm not going to change this. I'm going to leave this function alone. I'm not going to implement it at all. Thing with get name. The name is already there. It's a member. Here it is. Here's the name, right? Here's the genre, the file path, the media type, and the file size. They're all member variables so that every time I make a media object, I get those variables. They're always in there. When I make a child class, I'll get those variables for free as well. And then I'm going to add extra variables. So a layer on a layer. So I don't need to re-implement any of those three classes. Let's see here. Extract fields. Well, it's protected, but I may not have to change this at all. This is going to, what it should do is it should get each and every field in my file. We can look at that code itself, but I happen to know that I'm not going to extend this. I'm not going to change this. This just goes down that I'm going to have a line of text like this, and I'll get this, then I'll get this, then I'll get this. I'll get each of these pairs of values one after the other. And then I'm going to set my variables based on that pair. So when I get the file size like this, I say, oh, what's the field name? It's file size. Okay, I'm going to get a number. I'm going to stick that in the member variable file size. We'll see that in action. This is what the one thing, I think the thing I changed for you guys. No, that's a different thing. So get the media type name. So maybe it's generic, maybe it's link, maybe it's whatever. Every single class is going to have a different name associated with it. So I can just ask this function, hey, what's your name? You know, what type of file are you? What kind of media file are you? And it says a different thing. I'm going to have to extend that one, change that one. This I probably will also have to change. I will set the field, some kind of that pair that I had up here. Let me show you another pair. Here's another pair. File path and the value. So the name of the field and the value for the field, a pair. And for each one of those pairs, I will set my member variables. So I might need to extend that one. Okay, that's it. That's what I need to do. So I'm just going to, let me see here. This, because I'm lazy. All right, let's make our media file, our media link file. I'm going to add a class. Let's call it media link. And my base class is media. So everything the media class has, this thing gets for free. Okay, that's it. Let's also do a couple of things. Let's constant string, and what do we call this? Those things. Media type, and then like it's going to be, I'm going to say like link. So what I'm hoping for is it looks like this. I'm looking for this thing right here. And when I output it, I want to say it's a link. That's the name of the media file type. All right. That's all I need to do here. So let's do, music library might need to change something here. Let's throw that in. Because I need to know about that file. I'll explain why in a second. But once I compile this, great, it works and does nothing. It does absolutely nothing at all. I mean, the child class is identical to the parent. It gets everything from the parent. I didn't override anything. I didn't change anything. It's exactly the same as the parent. In fact, I could even go down here, and this is one of my to-do things I had to do. I'm looking around for the word to-do in here. Okay, fix this. Okay, what do I need to do here? So I'm going to extract the field type, and if it's meal type, I'm going to create media over here. Oh, create media is over. So if I have a media type, I am going to, if the field is media type, I'm going to create a new type of media. I'm going to keep on doing this, and I'm going to then extract fields and put it in the media type. You don't, this code, again, given to you. Here we go. If the media type is type link, I want to do something slightly different. So if m type text, um, I can do double equals technically, is equal to media type link. If the field name is media type link or is link, I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to, instead of, I'm going to return new media link. Okay. And I think that's all I need to do. It's going to be tab text. Okay. And then I'm going, oh, TEXT. What I want to point out here, this create media thing, I have one place in my code that knows about the different types of media. Otherwise, I'm just creating media objects blindly. I think they just get stored in an array blindly. I get take a line of text, I create a media object, fill in the variables, pass it back out. And I'm storing in an array all the different media files that I have. That's actually what's going to happen here. So I'll call for each line of text, I'm going to call create media, which then calls this version of create media. Notice we have polymorphism. This create media are different. Why? Because the parameters are different. It's a form of polymorphism. So this create media we'll call this create media, which will make the object, and you'll fill in all the variables for that object, one field at a time. And then after this is all said and done, create media, who calls create media? Let's have a look. Yep. And after I've created, I'll create a media file, and then I'm just going to add it to this collection. So it's just a list of media files. And then afterwards, I'm going to export all those media files. I'm just making a bunch of media objects, storing them in a collection. It happens to be, I think, an array. So I store them and then spit them out at the end. Nothing crazy. But again, you could definitely look around at the code, see how everything's flowing. It's bouncing around a bit, but I'm just making media objects, throwing them in this collection of media objects. When I'm done, I can each one of them I can say, hey, print out all your media information. That's the toString function, and it'll output all the string information. Okay. Again, I'm going to point out I'm making a new kind of object. Doesn't matter. It should. My note here. Warning. No, I don't have a constructor on this thing here. I'll have to think. I'll have to do the constructor first because I'm now explicitly asking for a media link object. I need a constructor. Okay. Here, let me put in all my things. I'm going to have a constructor. I'm going to have a function called toString. Fine. I don't need these at all. We said that those are going to be the same. So I'm just going to use the parents one. Find. I think I'm going to need a new version of that function. I'm going to need to implement that thing. What other functions do I have? And I probably should want. Right. Extract fields. Okay, that's going to need to be, do I need that? No, I don't need that. I'll leave that off. How about get media type name? Yeah, I'll need that one. Every single, if I have a different media type like link, it should return the word link. Okay. And then I'm going to need to change this one around here as well. Set field info. It's going to do something different if it's a media file type versus another. Okay. Yeah, that should do it. I'm now going to, I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to just, I'm going to copy and paste my media.cpp. It's not going to be that crazy. I'm just going to include this and then remove a whole bunch of stuff because I'm, again, lazy. Actually, no, let me do it the other way. Mm-hmm. Go. Media link. Media link. CPP. Okay, media link. Everywhere I have the word, everywhere I have this, I'm going to put this. This is me just being lazy. I don't want the word virtual anywhere. I put that in. There. Put that. Okay. So this is what I'm going to be putting in. These are the functions I need to implement. I said, hey, these are the exceptions to the case. Everything that media had before, I'm going to keep using it, except in these particular functions. When I make a brand new function with the same name as the parent class, I'm overriding it. I'm replacing the old one with this new version. Same, almost everything's the same. Just these things are going to be different. All right. So the parent, the constructor, this comes up. People get confused by this every single time. It's okay. I had to look it up every single time as well. I'm going to call, I need to always call the parent's constructor before I call my own. So I'm going to explicitly state which parent constructor I'm going to have. I'm going to be calling media with tab text in it. All right. That was the thing that was holding up this thing from compiling, by the way. ToString, I can call the parent's version of ToString. I can call media colon ToString and just return that. I'll just do the media's version of it. I could call return media find. What can I do here? I could return, what I want to return is media type link. This is that string I had before. Because if I go to media.cpp, see what I'm returning there. Find, get name, get media type name. Media type generic. Now I'm saying it's not generic, it's media type link. Just what kind of media type are you? And I want to return a string. The reason I could have also stored that as a variable around and stored it in the parent class if I wanted to. There's a million and one ways I can do any of these things. The reason I'm doing it this way is just because, the parent class will always spit out the word generic media type, and any child class will spit out the proper format that it is. I'm showing polymorphism in this case. So depending on what kind of media I am, this thing was going to return a different value. Okay. And this thing here is I'm going to call, just for the sake of it, that field info field pair. Currently, my code should do, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Jack squat. It will do nothing. It's not going to change anything at all if it compiles. Hey, it compiled. Nice. If I run this, it's going to load the file and everything's going to look just generic. Nothing's going to be different than what it was before. Because I keep on, for all of these cases, for all of these different functions, I'm just calling the parent's version of it. The only reason I'm doing that is because I want to work on this one thing at a time. I don't want to work on 10 functions at a time and find out where my syntax error is 4 hours from now. I want to get it into a stable state, make sure it's stable, work on one function, fix it. Is it working? Great. Move on to the next function, fix it, stable state. This is advice I would love to say that I always follow, but I don't. So here is what my function is now returning. The media type is generic because notice I did replace that one function right here. So instead of saying generic, it's now saying link. The name of the thing that hasn't been changed at all. The file size is file size 0, comes from the file. File path is not applicable. There's no other metadata associated with links. There should be, but there isn't, because I'm just doing the generic media files version of things. I'm now going to go one part by part, replacing these functions. So media link. I'm going to need a couple of new variables. So my example that I gave last time was, let's see here, make them private as well. String description, string URL, and let's do some. Oh, I need that? No, I don't think I need that, but I'm gonna leave it. I can make something like this. I could have string get URL. So two functions, getter functions for this particular class. And here's what they would look like. All right, that's it. It's just going to return the description. Okay, my URL, I'm going to set these things that. Save values. And then I had something weird being written in my, it said, we need to call extract field name value. I got to change this. It should be extract fields. I do believe extract fields to child class 2. We ensure fields aren't extracted multiple times in the wrong way. Okay. So I set things to save values. Then I call extract fields, which extracts all my fields and sets all my values. That's it. That's what I would, so extract fields. Then if I go to media.h, I have something called extract fields in here, don't I? Extract fields. It takes in a tab, which would then end up calling, extract fields will then end up calling set field info a bunch of times. It'll extract each pair of text, one after the other, and set the variables. Okay. That's fine. Get description, that's fine. Oh, toString. I might want to do something else with this. Okay. So what might I want to do? I might want to add the other two new fields that I have. So I might want to have string, and then again, I could be lazy. I love being lazy sometimes. Here's what media is doing. It has this sort of thing. Put in a tab, put in the field name, put in what the value is. Okay, we can do the same thing. Let's do that. Laziness. Okay. Ret val. I'm going to add on to it. I want field name. I want the. Oh, I'm going to need something else for this. That first field is named what? That's the question. It's going to be what, like URL, and then the other one's description. Okay. Field name, URL, and then I'm going to add the description afterwards. So what are we doing with this? Well, I'm going to need media link h. I'm just going to put some more constants in here. Constant string file name description is equal to description. Constant string. Let's look at my file just to make sure. This is what I want. I want the URL is named this, the description up to the colon. This is the thing I'm looking for. It's the field that, which field am I looking at? If this thing says description and has some other information afterwards, that's what I'm going to put in the description. If this thing has, the first field is URL, the field name is URL, then I'm going to put this in the URL string and make that the URL string. If I have the file size, then I'm going to put this as the number for the size of the file. It allows me to go part by part saying, oh, what field are you? Oh, your description. Put that in the description field. Oh, but it's going to work. Oh, we get some. Must return a value. Yeah, of course we have to return a value. Return ret val. The return value, ret val. I'm not overly original with my names. Okay, so what's this going to do? It's going to get all the text from a media, what a media file would normally spit out. And then at the end, I'm going to put in the field URL, the URL, and the description. That's it. Let's see what I get. Let's make sure it works. All right, link, the name of the file path, the URL, which is nothing, the description, which is nothing. Done. I don't have anything. I didn't do anything with those fields. I didn't read in those two extra fields. So I'm just going to go with whatever default I had. When I'm reading in the file correctly, that's going to be different. But when I'm outputting things, this is just going to blindly say, okay, whatever the media file is, this thing here, put that in, and then tack on this, and then tack on this at the end. Good enough. Fine. That's going to be something we're going to hit later. What I could do is this. Let's do it now. Boolean is found. So I can check the parent. Hey, do you have this piece of text in there? Maybe it's the word Jackson. Is Jackson anywhere in your metadata? No? Okay. Well, maybe it's in my URL. Maybe it's in my description. So maybe I can then do something like is found is equal to is found. So if it's true, it stays true. Or, but if it's false, I want to be able to change it. Or, and then I need to be able to find something. So what can I do here? Description, whatever my description is, dot find. And this thing's going to return a sign. Oh, I need to, I'm going to think my test case didn't work properly for this. Find says where this thing is located in space. So it's always up to, but not including the length of my string. Like, that's what find does. It finds a particular string within this, it finds a substring. So the thing I'm looking for is to find, and then I say that this has got to be, or it's less than or equal to can't be equal, and it's less than description this, and since it's always a positive value, that should work. Okay. I'll check my code anyways afterwards, so that's fine. I'm going to do one more time. I'm going to say, okay, well, if it's not found there, so if it's found at all, it stays found. I don't even do those other searches technically. If it's found anywhere, all I'm saying is this string to find, like the word Jackson, is it anywhere in my metadata? So I check all the fields that the parent has, and then I check all the new fields that I have. So thing I might want to find, and this might be URL. I'm going to look in the URL. Maybe the word Percy's in the URL. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. Great. And then I'm going to just return is found. So if it's not in the parent and it's not in the URL and it's not in the description, it's not found. If it's in any one of those places, it is found. Okay. This doesn't change at all. Great, we're done. This one is the one thing that is kind of weird. Let's have a look at what we have, what media does with this. Set field info. I say, hey, is the name of my field the field name genre? If so, do this. Is the name of my field name path, a file path? If so, do this. Is the name of my field the file size? Then put the file size in the file size field. Is the name of my field name? Is the name of the field name field name name? Is that the name of the media file? Like School Harm, like Percy Jackson, like All About the Art of Jackson Pollock, or whatever the heck I call these files. Is the name of your file? The thing is it name? If so, put this in the name field. Is your thing file size? If so, put this value in the file size field. Is your field name file path? If so, put this in the file path variable, member variable. That's what we're doing here. A bunch of these. I'm going to just copy this one here. So lazy. Okay. I might want to do the setup for all the other parts, right? And then maybe I want to do other fields afterwards. So if that so a field pair, let's have a look at what a field pair is. Field pair dot as a name and as a value. Pair, a name and a value. The name of the field and the value of the field. So if it's not found and set in this one, in the parent version, I'm going to set it in here. If field pair name, if the file name, the field name is, I don't want to have this, I'm going to have it description. If it's description, then I'm going to member variable. It's going to be that. else if field pair.f name is equal to field name. Well, if that name of the field is URL, well, then I set the URL. Okay, that should do it. This set field info is taking a text file, I've taken a line of text, and I go field by field, figuring out what goes where, how to set my values. When I'm done, I'm just outputting all of those values again to a string. And that string can be put to a text file if I wanted to. Okay. It compiled. So what we should see, here's hoping. You're not gonna see this, but here's hoping that we're going to see everything we would expect from here. We would expect to see media file link, the art of Jackson Pollock, file size, file path, the genre, which is link, the URL, this thing here, and the description. So far, so good. Hopefully, probably not, but please stop me. I know that people are probably confused, but I want to get through this one last bit and then we'll make sure we answer questions. So that's what I expect. I expect that same information. What I had in that line, output to the screen. Heck, it'll also be output to a text file in my code that I give you. So it's going to go field by field. It's going to get the first chunk of these things. It's going to get this from the parent. The parent class is going to give me this as a string, or as a string that it gets output. Then it's going to output hopefully the rest of it. It's not going to. It's going to look weird. But let's have a look. It's going to be the exact same problem I had at the beginning of this video. It should at least. Well, it gives me this URL in the description. They're not set. They're not read in from this file. Why not? So let's figure. Oh, sorry, you didn't see that. Let me run it again. You don't see what's on that screen. There you go. Exact same thing as the beginning of the video of this whole synchronous lecture. The URL and the description are missing. The question is why? The output that printing out at the end is working just fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have URL in the description. So why am I not getting in that description in the URL in here? Let's put a breakpoint in. So let's put a breakpoint in my CPP file right here. So when I'm supposed to pull off each individual field, one after the other, and set the values. So let's have a look. And the breakpoint didn't go off at all. What? All right, I'm confused. Let's do this again. The breakpoint didn't go off there. What if we put it in here? This thing, this version, the parent's version of this. Oh, it went off. What? Why is it going off? It's not calling the child's version of set field info. It's calling the parent's one. I don't want that. It's clearly a link media object, not some generic thing. It's a link media object. Why am I not calling the link media object's version of that function? Okay, extract fields, extract field name, set field info with a particular pair, calling set field info. I'm here in media. Okay. Calling extract fields. Actually, this is going to be called multiple times. So let me go to this one right here. Next example. Let's put it in this extract fields. Let's follow through it on that one. Let's run it again. So I'm going to make a brand new media link object. I'm going to make sure I hit this breakpoint. When I do, I'm going to call extract fields. When I do that, extract fields then should call this set field info, but it doesn't. Question is why? Gets there. I'm going to walk into this particular function with F11. I'm in the extract fields function. I'm going to pull off each individual field. Then I'm going to say set field info, which should then call the set field info thing right here, except it won't. Why? Why is it not calling the child version? It calls the child version of get media type name, calls the child version of find, it calls the child version of toString. It's not calling the child version of set field info. Again, why? Because I was being a bit of a jerk. That's why. And it will be one word that will fix everything for you. One word. Because all I know is that it's a media object. I don't know what kind of media object. I just know it's a media object. Since it says this is a pointer to a media object, and I say set field info on this pointer to a media object, what will it do? It'll just call the generic set field. It'll call this function with the generic version of it, the one in here, the one in media.cpp. I need a virtual table. I need a virtual function to call the correct media file. So if I keep on going with my code here, we go F11, and I'm calling this version, not the parent version of it, not the more specific version of it, just this generic version of set field info. Let's change this so that it goes to the correct version of that function. This is going to take a long time. So here, bear with me. Done. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. I'm going to do it another place too. I want to put it everywhere I have those. Now it's done. Oh, something weird happened. Insufficient space. This is the problem with my Google Drive, in case you're wondering. All right, there we go. My breakpoint. Let's walk into my breakpoint. Walk into this function, and oh wait, I'm in the correct version of this function now. In fact, if I just run it, breakpoints are all off. Look at my code. Hey, I got my description. I got my URL because I'm calling the right version of the function. If I don't want to know what kind of media file I have, I don't want to know what kind of media object I have. And if I don't want to know what kind, but I just want to call the right version of it, I want a virtual function. Virtual functions, we have a whole bunch of lectures on virtual functions. It allows me to not just use the parent's version of it, the generic media version of that function. It is depending on the kind of class I have, I call the correct function. And all I need to do is write the word virtual. So that is literally all I really need to do to make a new kind of media file that reads in. Yeah, that's it. I had to make a small change in media library by putting that in. For each one of my classes, I want to say, like, when I create the media, do something a little different, right? So here's a couple of examples. That's why I left that comment in there. And here's me the other examples of what kinds of things I would do when I make a movie media. Put the header file in there. Media link, put the header file in there. All right. You're looking for the word to do in places. It's one of the big things that you're going to be looking at. And I'm not sure if I can do find in here or not, but let's find out if it works. Media library, print library, extract file name. I might need to do add my own find. I'm not going to do that right now. Because if I want to be able to walk through and look and search my media library, I need to go through every one of my media files and search or find text in each of those media files. And depending on if it's a child class or a parent class, it will do different things. Okay. That was me yammering on. So let's see if I open the floor to questions or unpack some of these little things. For all I know, I've just made things muddier and messier. So your job for this assignment is to make child classes of media, like what we just did, so that you can take in a specific new kind of media file, import it, like, see an example, like maybe a TV show, or maybe a movie, music, or a movie. Taking specific kinds of media files, and you'll keep all of this metadata versus throwing away half of it, right? The IMDb URL is going to be kept instead of just throwing that away. And then after you're done, then you can output it again just to make sure it all worked correctly. Your job is not, you should not be replicating, just copying over what you had in media in your child class. You shouldn't be, you can copy and paste the bits of code that you absolutely need to change, but you're not actually trying to duplicate the code, just replicate the code. You're letting the parent do its thing. You're letting all the data in the parent stay in the parent. And then you just, add a little bit more to the class. Does that make sense? Can I unpack something else? Do we need to go over objects a bit more? I was told maybe that you guys didn't remember seeing breakpoints a lot, although we do them every time we're here. I just use them, a used one. What other things were I was talking to the TAs about this. So what other things do you guys, would you like help with? Or is it just like, oh God, you shouldn't, by the way, yes, you shouldn't have to touch media collection at all. You shouldn't have to, barely have to touch media library. Uh, yeah, you shouldn't have to touch most of the other code. You can write it yourself if you want, go for it. But really, all we're doing is we're making a whole bunch of media objects and then outputting them again later. This is, by the way, the file that automatically get exported out when we ran the program. Okay, Kevin, I'm going to post the recording on YouTube. Yep, like I've done for all the other synchronous lectures. If you don't know where that synchronous lecture URL is, let me know because it means I'm not advertising it well enough. They're all three URLs. Yeah, that's the reason I also did this as well, just to make sure that people can see me walk through the whole thing. Next week, you're going to be doing the find function. You should be getting an LCL6C redo as well. I have to double check and see what the heck it is. Is it upload to YouTube? Is it the file itself? How hard is it going to be to redo that thing? The sound, I've been told, is fine. It's just things pause and don't move, right? Um, uh, you certainly can use you can certainly use the provided A4 Media dsprag 2400.cpp. thing in the assignment. Absolutely. It's provided for you. This is literally the zip file that I opened up and just threw in here. I didn't touch it at all. It's yours. Go for it. So yeah, the lecture 6C. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to redo it because every once in a while I'm like, yeah, I did the lecture. Oh, it's 20 minutes. It's a bit long, and then you find out that it's laggy and horrible, and you have to do it again. You're like, I got to do a 20-minute lecture again, which doesn't sound like much, but the prep alone is probably about 40 minutes just to get the code in the right format so that you can hit all the same marks. Don't worry. I know I feel your pain too. I've been on this end of as a student, what, two undergraduate degrees, a master's and a PhD. I've been that side for 15 years. I know how painful this is for you guys. I just can't help you dodge that pain because the pain is actually where you learn, unfortunately. It builds character. As I think was it you guys or was some other group that was saying talking about that building character as in it's painful. Yeah, it was I think my 1400 class. Heck, you can actually use the if you want to. That link is not the link class or the media link class we're making here. Not one of the things you can make for the assignment, right? It's not a child class of movie or TV or book or comic book or anything like that. So you can't just directly use that code for your assignment, but hopefully can guide you for your assignment. And you can have direct access to that code already. It's in the the Google Drive folder with our synchronous lecture information, our lecture code, and I think there's another one in there as well. And the point of this, by the way, just to get practice with polymorphism and inheritance. And it's hard to get a small but useful example of this, but it comes really, really handy very, very soon, especially when you're doing things like you have a data structure and then you want to expand it or make it improve it. That's where the real pain point is, like thinking through all the possibilities and making sure that your inheritance structure works correctly. It's what you'll do in Ways data structures class, I think. All right. Can I help with, if I can't help with anything else, I'm going to let you guys go because people will wait around having me waste time at the end, hoping that it'll be like a Marvel movie. It'll be like, is there a secret ending? Oh my God, I don't know. And wait through the entire credits. Uh, so I don't want to have people go through that pain if there's nothing else at the end. But if you don't have other questions, but if you do have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Looks like nothing. Okay. Stop screen sharing. All right. Just keep me informed. I know this is, I understand everyone doesn't want to do, the midway point and then the final. The reason they're there is to keep you on track because if you try and do it the night beforehand, it's going to kill you. So try and get working on this assignment sooner rather than later. And then when you hit a pain point, then you have time to just ask me a question and then move on to something else and wait for me to respond. Versus the night of, there's no way to do that. So ask your questions now and try this out first before you move on to and then that way you can ask me questions if there's something that's unclear. Okay. All right. Anyways, I'm going to stop recording then. I will talk to you all later and thank you very much for listening. Thanks.